Hi, my name is Anne Trinity. For a while now, I wanted to make my first video, but I wasn't sure what I wanted it to be about. I knew many of my videos were going to have to do with my favorite TV show since I was 7, The Last Airbender series, my thoughts on it, and occasional references to what's currently going on to my life, and how it relates to the show. So if you watch my channel, don't be surprised when you hear me talk about it. A lot. Because that's what I decided my channel was going to be about. And if you don't care about the show, this is not your channel. A little bit about me. I care very deeply about philosophy. One reason I like the show so much is that I have been a spiritual searcher since I got really into it. I have been a Taoist, Hindu, Buddhist, Unitarian, and I created my own religion for a while called Amagog. But then I figured it had almost the same structure as Wicca, which is what I have recently unofficially converted to. Earth, water, air, fire, go fig. I've also been mentally experimenting with my own utopian society system called democracy. For any of you who know basic Latin, you know this meant, or at least was supposed to mean. I don't really speak Latin, I just know a lot of Latin roots. Same society. It's centered around the belief that a country would run best if people with the same ideas lived together and had their own officials, who are very little controlled by a national official. The national official of the democratic system is called the regulator, and the regulator doesn't have a lot of power. He can't really make any new laws because any of the laws he could create would have because any new laws he could create would have to adhere to a strict definition of what kind of laws are necessary. Mostly the regulator is just in charge of making sure that there are no civil wars between sectors, they're called, and everyone has the right to change sectors, therefore changing their beliefs. Democracy would be a good system because I don't really believe you can change a person's mind. The best thing you can do is keep people you consider stupid out of your hair. And I'm not talking about being ignorant to others' opinions. I'm not talking about becoming ignorant to other people's ideas. I'm talking about hearing the other side, then if you decide you disagree, you wouldn't have to listen to them trying to convince you over and over and over again. Wouldn't that be nice? If, for example, all the Republicans moved to the east coast of our country, all the Democrats moved to the west coast of our country, and we had Obama, they had McCain. That's all I feel like explaining about democracy right now. I'll probably talk more about it in the future, but that's it for now. If saying I'm a Wiccan and a Democrat didn't spell it out clear enough that I'm a liberal, I'm also openly gay. I have never had a girlfriend because I'm only 14. I also might not have had a girlfriend because I'm a total nerd. I actually painted a blue arrow on my head in 2nd grade. No, it was not Halloween. And that made my pen pal extremely uncomfortable. Sometimes I think I might be more likely to get a date if I dressed more feminine, but I figured, if anything, that would just make people think I was straight. I know several girls in the middle school I attended who I thought were extremely attractive, but I didn't bother approach because they wore so much pink, I assumed they were straight. I wouldn't want to do that to anyone who actually might be attracted to me. More importantly, I am a nerd, and I want whoever I'm seeing to like me because I'm a nerd. So it would be stupid of me to dress like a straight girly girl sports nut. Like I always say, you can catch more flies in a jar with honey than with vinegar, but if you only want the flies to either like the vinegar or want to be in the jar, honey is a stupid choice. This metaphor makes no sense, but come on, did the original one make any more sense? Everyone knows vinegar is a terrible fly magnet. Anyway, I'd say I'm 99.9% lesbian and only 0.1% heterosexual. This is weird and embarrassing, and this is a weird and embarrassing thing to admit, but I kind of have a crush on Zuko. It's dumb on so many levels, most of which having to do with him being a cartoon character from a children's show, but he's a better person than most men I've met in reality, and I have a whole thing for that stupid tortured soul complex. Like I said, stupid, but hey, life is short. And besides, he's hot, no pun intended. I'm a very political person. My favorite band is the Flowbots, followed by Steppenwolf. I support the legalization of marijuana and prostitution. Of heart and prostitution. I also support the legalization of harder drugs like cocaine, but I think we definitely need to be careful with drugs like that. I don't really care about the effects. I don't really care about the effect facts of cannabis, because it seems to me if we base the debate solely on that, we'll be in a state of perpetual debate over it forever. If there's one thing that I learned in my research, it was that when it comes to debating the harm of using marijuana, it will always come down to, my experiment says this. Well, my experiment says this. Well, your experiment was faulty because of this. No, your experiment was faulty because of this. To me, it boils down to even the most rudimentary knowledge of the Prohibition era. Even at the worst realistic side effects of marijuana that it's claimed to have, it's still not as bad as alcohol. And I have heard some horrible stories about what has happened because of the dealers' exploitation of the drugs being underground. I was told by my health teacher, mind you, that because helicopters are flying so low in a cornfield for looking for weed, the dealer harvested the crop too early and cut it with PCP. One user bought the shipment and got really whacked out and shot his parents while they were sleeping. It's really irresponsible to say that having a war on drugs is preventing harm. If I had a child who was addicted to drugs, first of all, I don't buy this whole mental addiction argument. I'll explain why if you ask nicely. If I couldn't help him, I'd rather he be throwing his money away at a liquor store trying to buy his coke than out on the streets where he can be beaten if he can't pay. He can ingest something more lethal because the dealer was trying to get a stronger grip on him. And if it's my daughter dragged into prostitution where she's essentially being raped because if she doesn't cooperate she gets abused or has to go through detox, and she can't call the cops because prostitution is also illegal. Fun. My favorite video game is The Sims 3. I spend a lot of time on the computer, either playing or on YouTube. I don't actually have a lot of friends, and I know that sounds pathetic, but let me explain my history of having friends. Like everyone, when I was in kindergarten, there was a blur of various playdates that I wasn't friends with for very long. One of my earliest real friends was Maddie Tyson, but I always had a popular taste in games. I liked to play pretend and tell stories, and ultimately Maddie wanted to play with other friends that preferred not to do that. I've always been friends with my next door neighbor Shane Hale because we like almost all the same things. A while in second grade I was friends with another neighbor named Drew Baker, but he had some real anger issues at the time, and my mom convinced me to stop being friends with him. Last year Drew and I became friends again, even though he won't admit it. Personally, I think he denies it because he has a crush on me and hates me for liking girls, therefore not possibly him. Meanwhile, Shane and I have really been on the rocks. He considers himself a Democrat, but it's rooted in the belief that we should not legalize weed, and I've actually become more passionate about my position simply because of that. Mainly, I don't mind his opinion, but the first time I told him, he asked me why, and when I offered to show him my paper, he flat out refused. So it's not really so much that he disagrees with me, as I feel like he won't listen, which, as any smart person knows, will drive a girl right up the wall. I also found out he had been lying about being busy after school and having and having parties with some of his friends I had never even met. Once again, it's not that that's directly the problem. I respect that he has other friends who don't share the same interest as me, and inviting me wouldn't be any fun for any of us. But he's had a problem with lying to me in the past. He does it to protect my feelings, same way he did when I had a bending club, and he kept on pretending he was sick or busy to avoid telling me he didn't want to come. But he doesn't seem to understand that when he lies and I find out, my whole world is shaken, and I get really anxious. So I much rather he had just told me that that the get together wasn't wasn't my type of thing. I mean, I really like Shane, but I can't. But I'm sorry. I mean, I really like Shane, but if he can't just tell me the truth when he needs to, I don't feel like sticking it out no matter how much I like him. For a while, up till last year, I had a really great friend, Winnie Evans, but she moved to Boston, and now I have been kicked off of Scratchy.edu, which was the only way we were still communicating. I'm technically friends with May Bassey, but she is a Baptist and a pretty devout one at that. Her proof that global warming isn't real. Scientists have been wrong before because she doesn't believe in evolution. Foolproof. Unlike religious leaders who have just recently been re-informed by God that there is no such thing as purgatory or limbo. Furthermore, she has told me she is attracted to women, but she is not lesbian or even bi because she chooses not to be gay because being gay is a sin as defined by the Bible. It's madness. I have wanted so badly to say the following to her. May, do you believe I'm going to hell? Now think long and hard about this because if you say yes, you're saying that even though you know me enough to even be my friend because you must think I'm a good person, I deserve to be burned and tortured alive for all eternity. If you say no, then you have to admit that at least some parts of the Bible are wrong, and if you don't believe me, and if you don't believe some, why believe any of it? Why believe any of it that you don't personally agree with? Why choose not to be gay? I mean, let's face it. According to the Bible, I am going to hell. I'm a gay witch. You don't get any more hellward bound than that without shooting Jesus himself. But to be frank, May is a slow girl, and I think I might actually break her brain if I ask her that. Even now, I can imagine what she'd say to me. Well, if you converted to Christianity, or something like that. It seems that when it comes to important questions, she has a problem with actually answering the question. So long story short, it's becoming more and more important on my list of what constitutes a good friend, that they agree with me. And I'm not sure how much longer I can be friends with May because her lack of skepticism is infuriating. I've gotten closer to Gloria Tell, a frequent lab partner over my years in middle school. She and I like a lot of the same things, but just like Drew, she has some problems with anger management that I think she needs to work out a little bit better before I can really call her my friend. But hey, at least she's not religious. Family-wise, I live with my mother and grandmother. I have 2 dogs, Ella and Rosa. Rosa! Here she is. Up. Come here. Oh, yes, say hi to the camera. I'll feed you soon, okay? I also have a cat named Fam, who is named after my favorite musical. And I have some fish, but those are technically my mom's. There is a friend of my mom's named John, who she's not dating but stays in the guest bed